Okay, my name is Kim, and I am here to help you in any way that I can. And I really appreciate you taking on this project and spreading the word of this rare disease, because I think that everything helps. And the most awareness that's out there, maybe doctors will start to take us seriously, and stop misdiagnosing us.
I can agree with most of that. And it's funny that you do the air quotes with the rare disease because I actually heard that in an interview earlier today.
Yeah.
So you're not alone in that thinking. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey though?
Yeah. It started back in about 2014. I had a few years prior, I had lost an incredible amount of weight. I was feeling really good. And then it seemed like a switch turned on. I started gaining weight for no reason, even though I had the same keto diet and exercise routine. I started getting incredibly anxious and irritable, and just I started gaining weight at such a rapid pace that had taken me so long, um, to work off. Weight has always been an issue for me. I was considered big boned, so I was always considered obese, in my doctor's chart, even at 145. For my height, I
I know
was.
you in person, okay? You are not even close to big boned. So that just blows my mind. But anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
um, And along with that, I was tired. Like the fatigue that when you wake up in the morning and you've had a decent night's sleep, but the fatigue when you wake up and feel like you're coming down with the flu. And you have that feeling every single morning. And as a parent of young kids at the time and a full-time job, and you have to be there for everyone else, you kind of push that aside and say, all right, let me just get through this day. And you get through the day. And then the next morning you get up and you feel like you're coming down with the flu. And it's a cycle that can lead into more depression because you just don't feel well. So for me, I started with my primary care physician and had some blood work done. And the thing that she said to me was eat less and move more. I switched doctors, waited for my yearly physical, and was told the same thing. This particular primary care physician, I had mentioned that I eat low fat, low carb, higher healthy protein, and no processed foods. And his response was go on Jenny Craig. And again, I was told eat less, move more. And I was already doing that.
Yeah.
I did eventually find a doctor who was not an endocrinologist. He was an OBGYN. And I was telling him my symptoms, thinking that maybe, I had women's issues. I was still gaining weight. I was in a lot of pain. This was in 2017 when the pain really started, joint pain, muscle pain, still very fatigued,
Mhm.
always with low vitamin B and low vitamin D, even though I was on supplements.
Mhm.
That was the first time that I heard someone actually tell me, I think you have Cushing's. But what he told me, and again, this was an OBGYN, this is not someone who was a specialist.
Mhm.
He had told me that I had Cushing's syndrome, but not Cushing's disease.
Mhm.
And that Cushing's syndrome you can control by diet, and it progresses into Cushing's disease. What do I know? He's a doctor, and he sent me for a blood test. To even when I went to go give the blood work, the lab didn't know what blood test he was pulling because it's not a typical Cushing's blood test that they would give you.
Hmm.
Um, he ended up leaving the practice, but Cushing stuck to my mind.
Yeah.
Um, I personally have a family history of hypothyroidism.
Hmm.
So my new primary care physician repeatedly tests my thyroid, which they're all good, even though there's a family history. Um, Still, even with the new doctor, my new primary care, she said, I need you to rule out some things. So, first, you're going to rule out lupus. She sent me to a rheumatologist who did an entire series of more blood work,
Yep.
telling me that I should move more,
And eat
eat
less.
less. And this is a rheumatologist. That blood work came out fine. Did not have lupus, thankfully. But she did see in x-rays um, on my neck and my back that I had severe back issues.
Hmm.
So her diagnosis was you need to see an osteosurgeon because that's where your issues are coming from. So I went through that series for quite some time. Um, Having another primary care physician telling her that I still don't feel well. I might have this pain, I might have this um, fatigue, but I don't feel well.
Hmm.
I know that something is wrong, and I'm
Hmm.
asking you to please find it. Being that the white blood cell counts were still off the charts, still B deficient, even though I was taking liquid B under my tongue, still D deficient. My cholesterol was creeping up and still is creeping up. I had asked her if she could send me to an endocrinologist, a specialist.
Hmm.
She had no issue with that. That was fantastic. I was thankful that she thought I needed to be seen by a specialist.
Now, Kim, let me ask you, how long have you been waiting to see this endocrinologist?
At this point, I've been waiting over a year. Um, the first time I called to make an appointment, it was a 7 month wait. In the middle of that, she decided that she was going to switch offices, which meant that my appointment was canceled. I had to wait for my yearly physical, which was months after that, and get a new referral. And it was again another 7 month wait. So it's been incredibly stressful, which, as you know, with Cushing, stress should not be a factor in your everyday life.
Not like this, not uncontrollable, overwhelming stress.
No. And anxiety that just seems to appear out of nowhere. Things
Hmm.
that you've never been anxious about before now cause an incredible anxiousness. Your heart races, your mind is just not there. It's hard to find the words
Yeah,
for all of it.
in constant panic survival mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so how has your life changed with Cushing's? Like, I know that your work life has changed a lot. Is that due to the limitations from Cushing's?
Um, it hasn't changed in that respect. I've had to accommodate for the new changes in the new job. It's a lot of travel,
Hmm.
it's a lot of chaos, it's a lot of physical labor when I'm on the road. Um, and it feels like you've been hit by a Mack truck. When I'm at work, I'm like a steamroller. I can get everything done that I need to get done. I'm incredibly focused. And then at night, there is no after work party. I crash
Yeah. And
and I hurt.
like you were fueled by steroids, pushing you through until the very end. And then the second you sit, it's like you hit a brick wall and
Yeah.
there's no more left.
There's not. And I have a few times more recently have had to stop and say, my mind is still there, but my body physically cannot move anymore.
Hmm.
And I've had to do that on the road. I've had to do that at home, and I work from home, so I can do that here. Um, but you don't get done being self-employed. You work so many hours a day. You can never get anything done. So it's a constant, need to, perfect your time management, because you don't know in advance when your body is going to say, I've had enough
Yeah,
and I physically cannot do anymore. Walking up a flight of stairs and you have to sit down when that's never been a part of your life takes an incredible toll on your mind.
definitely. Definitely. And what about as a parent? I mean, you said 2014, so you had children at home, and
Yeah.
how did you survive that?
Um, you just do what you have to do. And I think as parents, we already put ourselves on the back burner for our kids and their needs.
Excuse me.
Um, you just like the feeling that I just described when I'm working on the road, you go and you go and you go and you get through it. Um, but as a parent, it made me more irritable because I was tired. So after work, after dinner, after cleanup, after homework, when my kids would ask me, hey, do you want to play a board game? And I just didn't have it in me.
You almost wanted to cry because you knew that you could not say yes.
It makes you want to cry even more 9 years later when it comes up at family discussions that mom is always tired and maybe mom needs to rest. And, dad was the one that had to play with us and you were the disciplinarian.
Because you
So
did what you had to and did what you could.
I did what I could. So the hurt at the time was more guilt. Now that they're adults, it's more hurt.
Mhm.
So it's had an impact. You can only do what you can do. And
Yeah.
that's it.
Yes. And how do you think that has shaped your children, being watching you go through this struggle your whole life, that they can remember?
I don't think they understood, and I don't think that they truly understand, because anything that I felt, I never told them. I never told them I didn't feel well. I never told them I was tired. I just said, I'm sorry, mom can't help you with that right now.
Hmm.
Um, so they don't know that aspect of it. And they knew that mom was in pain because they could see me,
Yeah.
but they just didn't know because I didn't discuss it with them.
Hmm.
I was just not one of those parents that involved my kids with my health.
Hmm.
That has changed now. My oldest, who is 32 and has her own different health issues, finally understands, and I think or I hopefully is less angry with me.
Yeah.
Her and I have opened the dialogue around health, and she does tell me how she felt um, when she was a teen and had younger kids in the house, that she felt at that time that I just didn't care, that I was tired, I was working a lot.
Hmm.
But she can tell me now, as a 32-year-old adult, that, hey, now I get it
Yeah.
because I'm 32 with my own health issues and I'm tired.
I understand what tired actually is now. Yes, yes.
Finally,
Do
finally.
you think that the dialogue may have been more helpful, or do you think that it could have been more detrimental on their anxiety and their emotions at the time? Like if you could go back knowing what you know now, would you change the way that you handled sharing that information?
Yes. I would have been more open
Hmm.
to say, I'm really tired and this is why.
Hmm.
But not really knowing anything from the doctors aside from the fact that I need to eat less and move more. And I can't give that excuse to the kids.
No, no.
You
And
know,
how do you move more when you already have three kids and you're working a full-time job?
right. And at the time, taking care of a household by myself,
Hmm.
um, and I didn't have the kids share chores with me. I did it all. Um, you know, laundry, dishes, cooking, cleaning, lawn mowing, you name it, I did it. Um, if I could go back, knowing what I know now, I would 100% change the dialogue that we had and at least give them a reason why I couldn't do certain activities or why I couldn't be more helpful. Um, and hopefully they wouldn't have felt angry back then
Yeah,
that, mom's just tired.
that's just mom.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like it's just a whole personality of its own, the Cushing. It's either
Yeah.
rage cleaning and scrubbing, or it's I'm done, don't touch me, don't look at me, I don't even want to talk, I'm too tired. So,
And it's funny because your mind is still wanting to do these things.
nonstop.
And that's such a conflict because your mind wants to, and your mind knows that it has to be done, but your body just doesn't have the physical capability for it.
Mhm.
And that's an issue, a struggle within myself.
Yeah. Is you need to tell yourself, okay, we need to stop, and you have to almost forgive yourself for not being able to go anymore. And and you're at it, and I say interesting, but my heart goes out to you, but you're at a very interesting pass in diagnosis versus, I mean, you were diagnosed, but you're starting from scratch all over again. Like round two, fight, here we go. And you goes to the endocrinologist next week, correct?
Yes.
And
Yes.
you're preparing for battle.
I am ready for battle. Enough is enough. And this has been going on for a decade, and
Yeah.
enough is enough. And I've had to advocate for my own health in the past. Um, Add 10 years to that and some stubbornness and motivation, and I'm ready rather than just taking the doctor's word for it. And it's unfortunate that we have to do that.
It is. It really is. One of the hardest things that I was told is that doctors are people just like me and you, and they have bad days and they go to work hungover and do all the things that normal people do. And it just makes me want to cry that somebody like me is in control of my health and that of other people. So, because I know how hard it is for me to get out of bed,
Yeah,
and it's and they have their own family trouble and everything. So it is hard, and you try to be forgiving and you try to be understanding, but when they decide to not hear you,
yeah,
there's only so much patience that you can find at that point.
right. Absolutely.
Oh, I'm very proud of us. We've made it this far. We haven't even cussed.
I'm trying to keep it professional.
Me too. I'm trying very hard. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of preparation, I guess, that goes into finally finding an end to the fight. I mean, you've known my entire journey and before I had Cushing's.
Yeah.
And you know that before every appointment, I was like, here we go again. Somebody else to tell me that I'm fat and lazy. you know,
Yeah.
the best was when they said, oh, well, you're getting older. Oh, 31. Woohoo. So
Must be premenopausal.
must be. Man, I wish that was the issue. Um,
Yeah.
so but there's so many other things that can come with the misdiagnosis and putting it off. And you had mentioned, like osteoporosis type resemblance, right? They said in your so long-term steroid use can cause osteoporosis. You're talking about that possibility. And your pituitary gland, if it's a pituitary problem, it controls your thyroid. It controls your ovaries, your adrenal glands, and every other hormone maker in your body. And that is your other brain. And I don't understand how so many people can overlook it as just a simple hormone issue because
Yeah.
I have yet to meet a simple one.
I I think, and we've talked about this before when you're out in public with people that you haven't met and you spot Cushing syndrome in other people. I spot that with my kid, who was recently diagnosed with POS or PCOS.
Mhm.
Um, it's not it. I know it's not it. My kid is transitioning and is on high levels of testosterone and still has these symptoms. It's just not possible. I look at the face and the belly and the weight gain and the symptoms that I'm told and the pain. And I tell her, just go find an endocrinologist.
Yeah.
Look into Cushing's because to me, that's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah.
Um, so I think misdiagnosis is an incredible thing. And I think if they stop looking for an out, like pain is just fibromyalgia,
Yeah.
without finding the common cause, it'll be considered not so rare if they actually get the diagnosis right.
Yeah.
And that's to me, it's not menopause.
No.
It's not PCOS. It's
No.
not depression. It's not you're eating too much or you're not getting enough sleep or, sleep apnea. It's not the flu.
No.
It's they need to stop misdiagnosing people and stop pushing them off to other doctors.
So you offer an interesting perspective because not only are you the patient, you're the parent. And, you know, has your child pushed for more information versus PCOS, or they're just complacent with the diagnosis that they were given?
Yes, because it's a diagnosis.
And as much as the diagnosis is helpful, I too was diagnosed with that. And I have had 5 pituitary tumors removed, and 3 of them were hormone secreting. So, as you know,
Yeah.
the initial diagnosis is crap, but
Yeah.
what can you do? And
And
you kind of just want to grab them and shake them and say, "Hey, please listen to me. I feel your pain. I literally feel it. And you are my baby, and I don't want to watch you go through this too because it'll only get worse."
right.
And
No.
does that affect your conversation? I mean, I can imagine it's like, "Hey, have you talked to your doctor again? Hey, like you just it's so important to you. Is it easy to find other things to converse about?"
We converse about a lot of different things.
Good.
um, I worked in the health insurance industry for over a decade.
Mhm.
So I do understand how health insurance works, especially with government programs. So I understand why doctors may be quick to diagnose a problem because
Mhm.
if they're not getting higher payments to see a patient, they're not going to want to see
Yeah, they want the
you.
higher paying patients more often.
Right. Who cannot afford because they're paying such a high premium, so they cannot afford the additional copays to see a specialist.
Yeah.
It's a vicious cycle, and that is the problem in her case is the insurance that she pays for has a very high deductible. So she seems to be thankful for her diagnosis that she doesn't have to go back anymore.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. And that's it's a whole different scenario of frustration.
yeah. I think that once I have the open dialogue with the endocrinologist, and can tell her, because she is new to me. So a consult, I'm thankful, is a full hour. Um, I'm sure that based on that conversation that we're going to have, I'll have even more insight and education that I can pass on.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm looking forward to, because then I could say, hey, this is who you need to see. This is the test that you need to ask for, and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd also recommend wholeheartedly for both of you is a full log of when your symptoms started, what they are, how they feel. And honestly, thank goodness David's not here. Um, he had told me that for probably a good 2 years, is, make a log and log all your symptoms and stuff. And I was like, yeah, 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 because who listens to their husband? And then so we get to the endocrinologist that finally said, "Hey, no, this isn't right. This is not good." He's like, "I'm going to log all of this." And David just looks at me and points and he's like, "I've been telling you." Yeah.
Yeah.
And that really, like, once it was all on a chart by date and year and severity and the labs, he put in bold anything that was irregular. So when I got to the neuroendocrinologist, she's just like, oh, yeah, yeah, we're testing for Cushing's. Like, immediately, like, ready for an IPSS. They scheduled me right away. I mean, I met the endo in October, and then I met the pituitary team Christmas Eve 3 years ago. And January I had my IPSS and February my first surgery. So like once we got situated with the right doctor, it was like done. So in preparing, if you have any questions, I'll just
Oh,
send you my file.
I'll be contacting you. Um, but let me ask you something. You're talking about logs and all of your symptoms. When you see your symptoms on paper, do you feel like a hypochondriac? Or has any doctor made you feel like a hypochondriac? Like you can't possibly have all of those symptoms.
The primary that I had at the time, yes. Yes, he did. He told me that I had a stressful home life and my anxiety was getting the best of me. That's why I was in pain. That's why I was gaining weight. That's why I felt like I couldn't breathe. My anxiety was crippling. Like he was like, it's just you have a stressful home life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, that's not it. It's definitely not it. And I finally, after a bunch of begging, he sent me to an endocrinologist because my other one for my thyroid had left. And she's seen me for about 10 seconds and she's like, your labs look fine. You can leave. Like, okay. And then I went to two more endocrinologists at pretty big hospitals, and one of them had said, I'd like to test you for Cushing's. And so she did a dexamethasone suppression test where I took dexamethasone, which is a steroid suppressant. We took that at midnight and had my labs drawn at 8 a.m. My labs came back normal. Well, yes, we just took something to suppress it. So, and a lot of doctors don't know that that test is to see whether or not it's pituitary or adrenal. It's actually not to test if you have Cushing's at all. Um, Guess what? I have pituitary. um, and she was like, no, that your labs are normal. And David and I get in the car and we're looking at Cushing's. I'm like, oh my God, like I am the poster child for the body type. I mean, I when we first met, I was 130 pounds. I am 230 pounds now. And that weight all came on within a year and a half.
Yeah.
And still working out every day, eating the same things I always ate, working full time and a part time job with two kids. And it just wouldn't stop. And I couldn't breathe. My allergies were probably my biggest thing. I couldn't breathe. I struggled so much that I finally quit smoking after 16 years of smoking. I just said, I can't do this anymore and just stopped. And, you know, I didn't want to tell the doctors anymore. I didn't want to tell them. So I think we lost your mic. Did we lose your mic?
No, I don't think
Oh, there
so.
we go.
I've just been listening.
Okay. Uh, so yeah, and then Cushing's comes with its own embarrassing symptoms. And then you have a doctor that's like, we'll prove it. Well, show me. Well, I want to know. I want to see. It's like, you want me to do what?
Yeah,
And it just can't you take my word for it? Nobody wants to lie about having Cushing's. You're not making
no,
up these symptoms. These aren't things I want to share in the deepest, darkest depths of hell anonymously,
yeah,
and yeah, you feel like a hypochondriac, and then they have to make you prove that you aren't, so then you're embarrassed and humiliated to no extent, and you have to do it again and again.
right.
But when you get to the right doctor who will listen and they see all of that,
Yeah,
when it's the right person, the universe just everything falls into place.
yeah. I'm hoping.
Well, I got you. If not, I might know a guy that I could send you to. I know somebody who will ride with you. Oh, at least 3/4 of the way.
Yeah,
But it's a lot. It is a lot. And I'm sad for you to be at the beginning of this journey again.
yeah. And I bring that up because I'm working on my log, and I'm printing out my blood work, and I'm printing out the different doctor's notes. And you know, I was always a wait and see patient. I would wait for my physical every year because I did feel like that was extremely important. But if I had an issue of pain, I'd say, "Oh, let me just wait and see if it goes away. Let me try something else. I'll just wait. I'll bring it up at my physical." Um, so, in documenting my health over the last few years, I have been to an osteosurgeon, a rheumatologist, an ophthalmologist for vision changes, multiple visits to my primary care, um, and numerous other doctors. And it's just logging it makes me feel like, wow, I've been to a lot of places. I must really eat a lot and
Yeah.
not move a lot.
Yes. If I lived where you live next to that really good Mexican restaurant, I might eat a little more than I need, but I'd be walking there at least.
It
I
is.
it's a lot. And I do have one more question for you. We are running out of time. We got about 4 minutes left, give or take. But so just throwing this out there, and if you don't feel like answering, you don't have to. But how has it affected your relationship?
Ooh, that's a good one. Um, there's a lot of segments that has affected my relationship. Being in chronic pain and being a non-complainer, I don't complain when I'm in pain. I do have a high pain tolerance, but when it's not an illness or something that you can see, your partner doesn't understand why you're irritable or why you don't feel well, or maybe you shouldn't have had a glass of wine with dinner, maybe you should have slept more, maybe they don't understand that you're in pain. And
Mhm.
when I complain about pain, we're almost ready to go to the ER type of pain. They also don't understand the irritability. Maybe it's due to the fatigue. I don't know where it comes from, but he calls me snappy because I will answer him fine this second, and the next second, what he says really, really bugs me. And it could vary from day to day what bugs me, but it's that snappy. which of course sets him in a mood and can end up in an argument. Intimately, things have changed because you're just tired. You just don't feel like being the person that you were 10 years ago. So that too has been affected.
Yeah.
Um, and that I guess comes with any long-term relationship in some years.
Yeah.
But I think with Cushing's, it's even more because you just don't feel like it. And it's nothing that they're doing or not doing. You're just tired and you hurt and you're just not focused on that.
Yeah.
You know, your focus becomes getting through the day.
If I'm going to go lay in my bed, I'm going to be closing my eyes.
Right.
Okay.
On days that we could sleep, you know.
On the days you can sleep. It doesn't mean that you're actually going to sleep when you lay there, but you're going to lay there with your eyes closed and pretend.
Yeah.
I have to say, if you ever do end up being in remission, it becomes the opposite. It's trying to stay awake is a whole new ball game. And on days that you're interviewing or chatting, you might have to take some extra hydrocortisone just to function.
Yeah.
So it's one end of the spectrum or the other. That's the fun with Cushing's.
Right.
So
I was it's great, yeah, sometime after dinner, like between 8 and 10 PM. Oh, no, I'm the opposite. Between 8 and 10 PM, I could do anything I wanted to do.
yeah, yeah,
And, you know, in the morning between, I would say 8 and 10 AM, I could do anything and everything.
yeah. It was always 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. is when all my energy came about.
Yeah.
As you know, when I'm texting you at 4 a.m. You're about to get kicked off of here, so I'm going to let you go and I'm going to thank you, and we will continue this conversation over the phone.
All right.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you for
Kim.
all that you do.
Oh, thank you for supporting me through all this.
100%.
Bye.
Bye.